Skip Daley grew up in Brewster, a town of 1,533 residents, 11 of whom were serving in Vietnam. The Sunday Boston Herald in February of 1967 wrote, "Brewster has a quiet beauty about it. Wooden rail fences, red walls in the summer when the roses cover them are now covered with snow. Wood for fireplaces is stacked against the shingled Cape Cod homes, and the names on the mailboxes are of old Cape Cod families, some of whom have lived in the same house for 2 centuries. Allen, Bassett, Chase, Clark, Crocker, Crowell, Ellis, Latham, Nickerson, Sears." Skip's friend Jim Coogan remembered him this way. "Walter Skip Daley was my friend. He was 2 years older and took me under his wing as we entered the teenage years. A popular student and a gifted athlete, Skip was one of those kids who you knew would be successful. We all looked up to him. He had a natural ability on the ball field, and for a big kid, he was also surprisingly deft on the dance floor at the Saturday night record hops at the West Dennis Community Building. He got his driver's license before a lot of the rest of us, and we'd all pile into his old wood-paneled Chevy wagon. He was the first of our Brewster gang to go away to college. The last night I saw him was in the summer of 1966, when he stopped by the woodshed where I was working nights parking cars. He was in the Army and was using up some leave before shipping out for Vietnam. We shared a couple of beers, talked about life, girls, sports, and maybe a few dreams. The idea of death never came up. Not so surprising. We were both invincible in those days." While at officer candidate school at Fort Benning, Georgia, Skip met a fellow soldier, John Rainey, who was married with small children. Skip graciously offered to take his place going to Vietnam so John could have more time with his family. During his time in Vietnam, Skip was an avid letter writer, writing letters to his family, his friends, the children in the Brewster school where his mom was a teacher, and the other men from Brewster serving in Vietnam. He wanted to share the story of all that was going on there, how hard it was, but also why it was important that they were there. His radio operator, William Catharin, shared, "I think the reason we loved him so much was because he wasn't military. Although he did his job superior to any other officer in our brigade, he still managed to treat his men as companions and individuals. He never needed discipline to control our platoon. This was done by his jovial and dynamic personality. Never in the 7 months I was with him did I see him raise his voice in anger to one of his men. He protected his men from undue harassment and tried to keep us out of precarious assignments. Although our platoon had seen more action than any other in the company, Skip was proud that we had received as few casualties under his command. He worried continually about getting someone injured or killed. Everyone in this platoon will remember him as the finest leader and person you could have." On the night of January 31st, their platoon came under heavy enemy fire. During that time, Skip crawled below a hail of bullets to each of the men in his platoon, rallying them to repel the attackers. When an enemy grenade landed next to him and his radio operator, Skip instinctively picked up the deadly projectile and hurled it in a Hail Mary pass back at his attacker, saving the lives of soldiers in his platoon. However, Skip died instantly when the grenade exploded too close to him. William Cawthorn wrote to Skip's parents in part, "Dear Mr. and Mrs. Daley, I was your son's radio operator from August until the tragedy on the morning of the 1st. I would like to express to you my deepest sentiments of his loss. Lieutenant Daley was much more than an excellent leader. He was a close, enduring friend. His jovial and dynamic personality made serving under him an extreme honor. His mere absence from our platoon during a short period of illness caused immediate disorganization and internal strife. I know that I cannot express my emotions or those of the people who knew him in just mere written or spoken words. It was a crushing blow to everyone, and I realize how you must feel. No words of praise, honors, or medals can replace him. But tragic as it must seem, he died courageously. In fact, he saved my life. Today, instead of him writing to my parents, I write to you. Please accept my sincerest sympathy of your grief. Take care, and may God bless and keep all of you. If there is anything you can ever desire, I am at your service. Sincerely, William Kenneth Cawthorn. Skip's body was returned to the U.S. escorted by his childhood friend, First Lieutenant Gilbert Ellis, who had grown up across the street from him here in Brewster. A service was led here at Brewster Baptist Church and the Brewster Cemetery by the Reverend Edward Elmore. It was only the second full military funeral in Brewster history. There was a memorial fund established to create a memorial in front of the Brewster School, now the Brewster Town Hall. The remainder of the memorial funds were later made into a scholarship fund, still given out today to students who have completed 1 year of college. John Rainey contributed flowers to Brewster Baptist Church in memory of Skip on the first Sunday of February until his own death, and we continue that tradition to keep the memory of Skip Daley and his impact on the community of Brewster going.